Thank you very much for having me. Of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about Back to the Future is what I call my presentation. It's actually a presentation where I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the trends in pharma, but also focus on what I believe are crucial success factors in order to get actually from vision into reality. So that's the contents of my presentation. So a little bit about me. My name is Camilla Renz, and I work as an IT director at Oriola Group. I also coach CIOs and CEOs in digital business development. I'm also a board member of Framtiden and Elia Arkitekter. And in my spare time, I'm a passionate endurance athlete and also coach other athletes towards their goals when I'm not a full-time mom. So why am I telling this? Well, my two passions in life is really digital business development and health. And you might wonder why I'm calling it digital business development, because I try to distinguish it because it's the kind of business development you actually need IT to support you. So that's why I put it like that. I'm going to talk about the pharma business and first, a short introduction to what it is really. A pharmaceutical company or a drug company is a commercial business licensed to research, develop, market, and or distribute drugs, most commonly in the context of healthcare. So this is the area that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to present a few trends. And these are sort of just a few of them and my thoughts. So, and also what I've found online, of course. But anyway, the first one I call the human in focus. Right now, I think every pharmaceutical company is talking about enhanced patient engagement. We've heard about it today. For example, we involve the patients much more in clinical trials or during the actual treatment, connecting with patients in order to get real-time data to how the patients react to treatments, etc. They offer different portals, accessories, devices, and so on. And the development is really hectic around this area. Another part of this trend is that we as human beings expect personal advice and not only information. We're so used to Google things, but now we actually expect to be known, and that the information that we receive actually is based on the knowledge that the company has about us. So they want to know where we're located, the history, what our medical history, etc. And another part of this is actually that human beings and customers are becoming more and more demanding and expecting companies to know who we are and to offer services that are adjusted to our needs. So for example, we don't want to be offered anti-smoking drugs if we don't smoke. And we don't want to be offered group advice if we don't have kids, etc. So another trend that's very it's very known right now is something I call beyond the pill. This means that we see more and more services being bundled with pills and treatments. This means that we will see much more collaboration between different service providers, such as pharmacists and doctors that we already see today. I believe that we will expand this collaboration and we will see dietists, dentists, physiotherapists, etc. in this network, in this partner network as well. Another part of this trend is that service providers want to see the full picture of the patient or the customers. So what are sleeping habits, eating habits, locations, history of illness, and follow the patient during home treatments, which requires new technology. We also see more and more connected devices being used and to send real-time data to doctors to be able to treat patients in their home environment, or actually wearables with very advanced technology that gives the user advice when it comes to health. Along with this trend, which I find it very interesting actually, is that we see new business models arise. For example, value-based price models. This could in fact be treated as a trend itself, because in this area that it happens a lot. But to give you an example, so why should I pay for an unsuccessful treatment? So would you pay the garage in case they don't fix your car? We go into the next trend, the man's best friend. We already see today that you can buy your dog's recipes online, dogs and cats, or all the domestic animals actually, and get treatment through, for example, First Vet. That's more a commodity almost today. But what's actually happening more and more is that we're finding wearables for the cats and dogs, where we can follow the health of our domestic animals and make analysis and suggestions on treatments and change in diets and so forth. The fourth trend I would like to bring up is cross-industry and enterprise collaboration. You see a lot of collaboration in between different pharma companies, but also between pharma companies in other areas. I will bring up one example, and pardon my, let's say, pronunciation in this one, because it's a Spanish company. My Spanish is not very good. Steve is an international pharmaceutical group that dedicates for research, development, and commercialization of medications and other products for human and animal health. And that's another company called Teshin Pharma, that's a multinational Japanese pharmaceutical that also offers services for respiratory home care. They've started a company together called Steve Teshin Healthcare that is dedicated to respiratory home care for patients spanning from neonates to adults whose needs range from continuous oxygen therapy to treatment for sleep apnea. Another example is the area of functional foods and dietary supplements, where we see a lot of collaboration between actually traditional food producers and pharmaceutical companies. Functional food in this context contains something called the nutraceuticals, which is a substance that may be considered a food or a part of food, which provides medical or health benefits, encompassing prevention and treatment of a disease. An example of this, because is orange juice that we fortified with calcium for bone health, for example. And there's more advanced things, of course, than that. So, as a pharma industry, you can either choose to stick the head into the sand and say nothing is happening, or you can start adjust to the changes in the trends. And that's actually what's happening within our company right now, which is really exciting. But these trends that we've seen needs adjustments on how we operate. And here I strongly believe in that collaboration is key. And I will take up a few examples in this area as well. And that in my experience, we need to work very, very closely together in order to go from vision to reality. I will start in analytics and reporting area. Analytics gets more and more vital because knowledge is key, you could say. And we need to be able to gather and analyze data and also deliver real-time data. That's why you need to bring together your business analysts, guys, and the competencies around master data and integrations. they need to sit together, because if you leave the IT guys on their own, they would deliver a lot of data but no structure, and they won't be able to analyze the information. And if you leave just the business analyst, they won't know where you can find the information. So you need to bring these together to get this into reality. Another area I would like to mention is artificial intelligence, because AI will be needed. The use of AI will be crucial, and I believe it will be used throughout the whole company, everything from service desk to personnel administration. But an AI technician, however, can never succeed without in-depth business knowledge and close cooperations with business knowledge development. But if you put these two together, you can get real magic. Another area that we normally see a lot of the silo management in is the marketing and product development. And you really need to bring these two together so they work in a development project together. So when you deliver a new service or product, they need to work from development to the launch together. The risk is otherwise that the product is either highly advanced but totally missing the target, or that marketing gets so far ahead that it's impossible to create the product within the market window. Another area, which is also very interesting, because the behavioral science is becoming a crucial business asset and competence needed in more and more projects. I will give you an example. If you're setting up a bot, you need to make sure that the responses back are received in the right way, and that you not by accident train your bot to be a chauvinist pig. The last area is the change management. It's one of my favorite areas to talk about, because I think it's so vital. Since we have so much rapid change right now, and we want the whole company to work together in new ways of working as well, you need to focus on change management, make sure that your personnel is actually on board and being able to work together. And that could be this big difference between success and failure. Besides the focus on collaboration, I also believe that you need to focus on shorter time to market, which means new ways of working. For example, there are models like design thinking, where you work in smaller cross-functional teams during a shorter time period with a very limited scope. In this way of thinking, you rather try a lot of times than doing your business case beforehand, and then do a long planning session and so forth. So you need to be prepared to throw a little bit away. So instead of spending years and years on evaluating and planning, start trying and learn to stop and scrap the bad idea instead. And I want you, as a last thought in this presentation, is that I want you to remember that some of the greatest ideas and inventions that we had in the world was a mistake from the beginning. So thank you very much for your time. Hope there's some questions.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you very much. We have some questions. The first one being on ownership of data that is being collected by all these different tools and devices. Who do you think will own this in the future? If you elaborate a bit upon using it personally, or owned by the government, or owned by the big companies that, for instance, Google and Facebook?
Oh, that's a hard one. Within the company, I think it's easier to answer. But I never think it's going to be collectively owned, unfortunately, because there will still be a business around gathering the data and sell the data within the pharma business. So that's my short, even though it would be nice if we could see that the collective, but we might see some kind of that we're considering the recent, let's say, pandemic that we've been through. Having access to all that information that we actually had, and that was what actually made it much easier. So there might be some kind of responsibility to share information when it comes to common wealth, health.
Yeah. May I comment on this? We're seeing, with our interactions with different, ministries of health in different European countries. Some of them are very much for controlling the data so that the health detail records or patient records are controlled by the Ministry of Health. But others are becoming more open to empower the patients to own their health records, right? Because eventually that's your data, right? Is that traditionally a lot of the different doctors or ministries of health, they don't want patients to have that, because then they will read it and go to Google and start self-diagnosing or self-medicating, right? Doctors have believed that, patient data should be viewed and seen by the doctors. The problem that you see with that is that in many countries, a lot of the government agencies are selling these data records to insurance companies and so on. And for countries that are starting to move into a greater percentage of private insurance, what happens if patients have pre-existing conditions? Then the insurance companies will traditionally or will reluctantly cover them for some of these pre-existing conditions. So that I believe that data, even though it's owned by the patients, and it should be owned by the patients, we need to find the happy medium to manage that, because it is going to be an issue. Look what's happening in the US. You have a lot of the companies out there like Google and Apple and all these guys, people are wearing watches and they don't know that their data is being sold. They are the product. So I think here in the EU, we need to empower the patients to take more control of their health. And I was in one of the speakers at the European Health Data Forum, and some of the EU representatives were talking about even having budgets for people for healthcare, and basically saying, look, you're going to get X number of thousands of euros for you and your family for your healthcare, and it's up to you to get your life in order, and wellness and exercise and eat well and change your diet. Of course, chronic disease and things that are not expected will be covered, but basically the budget is for you to spend, and if you overuse it, well, you sort of get penalized, if you will. But there's a lot of thinking about changing this conundrum, because as I said before, it's not sustainable the way we are actually handling healthcare anywhere in the EU and here in Sweden as well.
I think it's when you put the question, I was actually not thinking about the personal, could say, information. That's more what I've discussed is the number of, for example, Ipren that's being sold in Sweden, and where it's being sold, etc. So it depends on what kind of data you're having as well. And I totally agree with you, Gerard, when it comes to personal information, that we need to be better at gathering that information on our own. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. We were getting more demanding. We want to be more in control.
Precisely.
Another question that came up here is like, if you could elaborate a little bit about healthcare providers, especially doctors being experts on treating the patients. How are their acceptance for adoption to new technologies? Are they ready for this amount of data and new technology? How is the perception in that?
Ooh, my perception is that I think that it's gone very fast in the last couple of months. We're already seeing platforms being built to enable doctors to have more digital treatment. And I also think we actually can reach more patients that we couldn't reach before. So maybe we can get treatment earlier because of that. And so so I see great benefit but from going in this direction. And so far I've just said openness actually from the doctors in this area. So, and a pretty fast way forward as well. So.
Yeah, I'm guessing the level of acceptance for just doing things has been hugely increased with the fact that there is no other option when the situation is like it is. We had another question from one of our previous presenters here.
Yeah, no, I just want to comment on what you said on the data, and we believe as well that it's the patient and the user that should definitely own their data as far as possible. And what we see like sub-trends is that certain parts of the population at least leave Facebook, for example. They leave TikTok and other social platforms that they know use their data. So it can be a trend that we will see in the future that we won't accept that as customers.
Precisely. And I think people should be empowered. And you should have your own data. I mean, they're talking about people, saving the genetic makeup of your gut, right? And they say, well, look, storing and I don't need to be crude, but I mean, the genetic makeup of one's bites or you poo, it can save someone's life, right? If you were in an accident or happen to injure your stomach, I mean, replacing that fauna and flora in your stomach, it's essential, right? So where is that makeup? Well, it's on your poo, on the excrement, right? So that data is of critical importance, and people should be entitled to have that. And there are differences of opinion, but I think overall the doctors are embracing technology. They want to be more efficient. They want to do more with less, and things are changing rapidly. As you said, AI. I mean, AI it's being used already a lot. One of the problems that I do see in AI, and when I spoke at the European Health Data Forum, the topic I had was dirty data, the new fake news, because dirty data for AI is a catastrophe, right? I mean, AI won't work unless the data is properly orchestrated, is non-biased, and it's aggregated and correlated in a way that could be seen, because you require huge amounts of data for AI to work efficiently, right?
Yeah.
So there are huge changes, and it's happening, right? In some areas, I mean, here in Sweden, we still see a lot of inefficiencies, but there is a big trend, a big move to eliminate the silos, especially in the landstinget. And that's great. I think it's phenomenal.
Thank you, everybody, for your insights and information.